My mic's on?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to June 16, 2022, regular board meeting. Opening items. 1, call to order. Ms. Burgos.
Trustees present this evening are Trustee Ciro Calderon, Trustee Romero, Trustee Magallanes, and Trustee Lorenzo Calderon Jr., with Trustee Alvarado absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Burgos. 2, Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Ramirez, can you lead us? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. 3, public hearings. The Board of Education will conduct a public hearing to allow the public input regarding the district proposal, draft local control and accountability plan, LCAP, for the year 2022 to 23 school year. Ms. Baez?
So at this moment, I would like to open the public hearing for any public comments. Okay. Then we'll close.
No public comments.
Okay. So we'll, good evening, everyone. Is the presentation on? Open. Have a few seconds. Okay. Just a second, please. Good evening, Board of Trustees and everyone joining us tonight. For the record, my name is Maribel Paez, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Okay. So I'll be presenting tonight as a public hearing, and this is to allow any public comments before the adoption of our original July 1st original budget. And it is for California Education Code 42127, we must adopt the budget before July 1st or 5 days after the enacted budget is signed by Governor Newsom. We also have, as part of the 42127, 45 days after the governor signs the budget to actually make any major significant changes to your revenues and expenditures. So the agenda will be, I'll be covering a little bit the governor's May revised budget proposal, some of the most important items that were actually the governor is proposing for this original budget 22-23. Key assumptions and planning factors that were used to build the multi-year projections. The 21-22 estimated actuals budget, that this is how we are estimating we'll be closing the June 30th to 2021 school year. The 22-23 original budget, that it's built with the May revised projections, the latest information from legislation. Multi-year projections for two subsequent years. Or Senate Bill 751, that it's a new law that we must have adopted resolution, which is our 10% reserve cap resolution that I'm going to be speaking about. And we do have this item on tonight's agenda as well. So let me just start by saying that the governor's May revision is the last statutory step in the state budget process before the legislature adopts a state spending plan by June 15. Governor's News and Administration has updated revenues, projections, and proposals based on the latest cash received and economic forecast. And one of the things that it was an eye-opener for everyone and education level was that it was just all the revenues came. All the revenues actually surpassed the projected amounts in all the different levels of personal income taxes, sales and use tax, and corporation taxes. So with that said, whenever there's more funding available, there's also more funding available for Proposition 98. That is how education is actually funded in California. Significant changes from the January governor's proposal to the May revise, and I'll be talking about that. So the budget that I presented on March, before March 15, which is second interim, and all the multi-year projections were actually based on the January's proposal, governor's January proposal, but all of that is actually a significant change from the January's governor proposal to the May revise, and I'll talk about those changes. So as you can see, and on my comment there, a budget is a living document. Our information, we always have to be using the latest information provided by legislation. Proposition 98 is how education is funded in California. And just to give you a table of differences from the governor's January's proposal and May revise, it increased for our local control funding formula, which is our main revenue source. It actually almost doubled from 3.3 billion to 6.1 billion. In addition to that, the May revise is proposing from a 5.33 COLA to a 6.56 COLA. And is also proposing a one-time discretionary fund of $8 billion. And this will be, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this one-time funds, about 11 million for Calexico Unified School District. In the bottom, I also have, and this is just a snip picture of our local control funding formula calculator. This is a calculator that actually is given by all the districts to put together your revenue. So this is actually what we need to use to build up our multi-year projections. If you can see the COLA of almost 9.84%, and this is, and I'm gonna breaking down that percentage, but it's the 6.56, which is the COLA, and then the investment the governor is actually doing to our base funding. So almost like for the first time, he's really investing more on our LCFF base funding rather than just giving us one-time funding. So what are the three major budget assumptions used based on the governor's May revise? Number one, solution to declining ADA. As we know, we're not only decreasing enrollment, but we're also increasing ADA, and this is how we actually get reimbursed, and we have actually chronic absenteeism. So with that said, and everybody in California is experiencing the same situation, the governor's is actually one of the mitigation proposals to mitigate this significant decline in ADA is actually a current year ADA. Use your current year ADA, prior year ADA, or your computed average ADA using the prior 3-year ADA, which in this case, Calexico best option will be to use a 3-year average. In addition to this proposal that the governor's actually letting LEAs, local education agencies, use a 3-year average, they're also proposing a COVID-19 ADA relief, and this will be an attendance yield from 1920 to 2122. And let me give you an example. Back when this is prior COVID, or attendance yield was about 95, 96%. Now, actually after COVID, it went down to 87.16. So what the governor is saying, that on top of the 3-year average ADA, they also want to put together law which it will allow the districts to use the yield from 1920, which is the 95.23%. So that will also help us mitigate some of the funding that all of our LEAs are losing every year due to chronic absenteeism. Another major component on the assumption for the May revise was the LCFF COLA of 6.56% and the additional 270 per student added to the base. So Governor Newsom did listen to the education community. What were the stakeholders saying was, we need more base. We've been experiencing flat funding forever. We really need additional monies on our base funding because it's actually have been flat funding. The COLA, minimal COLA that LEAs have been receiving is not enough to cover all of our ongoing expenditures, plus the loss of ADA, the enrollment. So what the governor said, I am gonna invest a little bit more revenue on your base funding. So that is part of the proposal for May revise as well. And the third one, with the major budget assumption for the May revise, is the one-time discretionary fund of about $1,500 per ADA that will give our district about $11 million. Assumptions and planning factors for 22-23 and our multi-year projections. So this is the information that we have to use to build up your budget and to build up your subsequent years multi-year projections. Funded average ADA, that will be the second line. Actual estimated ADA, just to give you some information from our period 2 attendance report, it was about 7,400. So, and that, if you add the county ADA, that gave us about 7,568.19 that you actually see on that cell where it says 22-23 actual estimated ADA. It's 7,568.19. But the governor is actually saying, wait a minute, we're gonna go ahead and help all of our LEAs that are experiencing the same situation, and we're gonna allow you guys to use a 3-year average. In this case, for Calexico, it will be the 8,284.64. So that is about over 1,000 ADA more than the governor is actually helping LEAs mitigate this issue. Now, for 23-24, 24-25, these are the latest information that for 23-24, there's still the 3-year average, but then for 24-25, there's still nothing proposed for that year. Our unduplicated pupil count is pretty much a status quo. We have the cost of living that it was actually used for the multi-year projections. We have the 6.56 for 22-23. Then we have the 23-24, we have another COLA increase of 5.38, and then for 24-25, we have the 4.02. We also have in the budget the estimated additional LCFF investment of $2.1 billion, and that is the 3.28% percentage increase to our revenues. And the rest, as you can see, we have CalSTRS employee rates. The information from legislation is that it looks like for the upcoming years it's gonna be staying as status quo. I hope it really does, because all of our STRS and PERS contributions, they're been increasing significantly from previous years. So I hope that it does stay status quo, as well as CalPERS. CalPERS is going to a 25.37 this year. It is going like 2 or 3% up this year, but then for the upcoming 2 years, they're not projecting there is going to be a significant increase to our CalPERS. Then another item that I would like to point out on this table is the contribution to restricted programs as special ed, special education, and or transportation, or routine restricted maintenance. All of that is actually, that's our contribution, and it is pretty high and higher than last year due to all the impacts of changes that we've been having lately in our district. So that number was about 13 million this year, and next year it's gonna be much higher, our contribution to these programs. And then you have your property taxes maintaining a status quo, and then we have the local control accountability plan that is also built into our budget, and this is about 34 million, the 34,342,169 that is built into our ALCA for supplemental and concentration services to our students. Then you have our workers' comp rates projections that is projected to increase about 2 to 5% every year. Any questions? 21-22 estimated actual budget. Estimated actuals, there is a lot, when you're closing the books, there is a lot of money that has to be carried over or moved to the following year. We have a lot, as you can see in let me see if I can point this. The 10 million from revenue, and then you see the 10 million from expenditure as well. This is money that is gonna go be roll over to next year. And there's a lot of reasons for that to happen. Materials and supplies couldn't come on time. There's a lot of the one-time funds that is still the allocation. We were not able to spend it all, so we will be moving those funds to next year. Categorical funding or Title I's. So that is pretty much a snip of our estimated actuals. The revenues as projecting to close about 174 with a total expenditures of 179, giving us a deficit spending of about 4.6. That will give us an ending fund balance of about 35 million this year, June 30, 2022, I'm sorry. So, any questions? Original budget, 22-23 original budget. These are our numbers. And our breakdown by unrestricted and restricted and then combined. For next year, starting July 1st, we're projecting to have total revenues of about 178 million, total expenditures about 177 million, giving us a surplus of 741,000. So we're not experiencing deficit spending next year, and this is due to mainly to the 11 million one-time discretionary fundings that the district is receiving. We have a beginning fund balance of the 35 million, and that will end up June 30 of 2023 with a 36 million plus. Any questions? MYP, and this is our multi-year projections based on the assumptions that I went over. The 22-23 I already explained in my previous slide. 23-24 and 24-25 is the ones that I have to explain a little more. Based on our LCFF calculator, it's calculating 23-24 to be about total revenue of about 156 million. With total expenditures about 162, giving us a deficit spending of about 6 million, and that would drop our ending fund balance to about 30 million. That is for 23-24. And again, I can't use anything that, I can only use the latest information from legislation. There's nothing at this point that I can use for 23-24, 24-25. If there's gonna be additional support from the governor, it's gonna probably come until January of 2023. Any questions?
No.
With that said, School Services of California has really cautious us, even though we do have a good year and this unprecedented revenues coming our way, and really the governor listening to all of the education community, we still know that we're facing inflation. We still know we have supplied, materials and supply challenges, and we know that we really don't know what's gonna how our revenue is going to look for the 2 outgoing years. So they are being very cautious and just letting us know build up your reserves. All districts have to build up their reserve levels. Also, be cautious with your expenditures. We have a good year, but it doesn't necessarily just states that it's going to be like that for the upcoming years. So we really have to be cautious this year and save the most we can. Reserve cap. Senate Bill 751, and this is a new requirement. We have to commit, if you have more than 10% on your unassigned reserve level, and I'm going to explain that, we have to commit it. We just have to, we cannot leave it unassigned. This is part of a new law. So, but again, this doesn't mean that we have to spend out our reserves. Again, School Service of California highly have encouraged everyone to build up our reserves because we don't know what's happening on our 2 subsequent years. And also, just so you can see the table of everyone just building up their reserve, for unified school districts, they have around a 22% reserve level. So they continue to just address that we have to be cautious and build up our reserves. What the 10% resolution that it's in the item, and the agenda item for tonight, it's saying that we have to do. Okay. This is just a snip picture of Formal 1 that is part of the financials for 2022-23 or July 1st budget and estimated actuals. Where it says other commitments, that's where the state is saying, wait a minute, I do not want you to leave your unassigned reserve on the bottom. I want you, LEAs, to commit it. And we're committed just to continuity of operations. And we're just committing that. So that's what the resolution is just kind of going from one cell to the other one and commit those funds. It's just what it is on the resolution, and it's just by law that we have to adopt this before July 1st. But I wanted to show you this picture because when you see K31 on the agenda, this is the resolution. It's for the 10% resolution that we have to adopt. Any questions?
No.
Fiscal challenges ahead. We are experiencing inflation. We have an attendance cliff. We have structural deficit for our 2 subsequent years, declining enrollment, our pension rates, workers' comp, high contributions to underfunded programs like special education and routine restricted maintenance account. So the district must strive to find a balance with projected enrollment, class size, and staffing ratios. And we must continue making every effort to significantly reduce expenses to avoid deficit spending for the subsequent 2 years. So rather than that, I just want to say really quick, I know that this is a public hearing presentation, but I just want to thank everyone that, just put together and helped me with the budget. This was a significant challenge budget, and just to balance everything out and with all the major changes that we are facing as a district, I just want to say, kudos to all of the department, business services have done an amazing job putting everything together. So thank you everyone. Any questions?
Thank you for the excellent presentation.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Thank you, Ms. Baez. B, the Board of Education will conduct a public hearing to allow the public input regarding the district proposal budget for 2022-23 school year.
Open
No
it up for public comment.
Do we have any? No comments? That's it? Okay, so we go on. You have the report? Okay. B, public comments, closed session items only. Do we have any, Ms. Burgos?
No comments.
Thank you, Ms. Burgos. C, announcement of convening into closed session. And thank you, we'll be back. Thank you.